next. So we're going to start things off first and foremost with the news that Tyler Buchner has been named Notre Dame starting quarterback.
It's something that we anticipated, I think, in our conversations going back to the spring and the way the staff was pleased with his development. And I, for one, because I know Notre Dame fans are split in a lot of different areas when it comes to Tyler Buchner because, you know, they see one thing, they see his running ability, they might not see the different levels of throws as far as different speeds and accuracy, and those might be some of the questions that they have. But for us watching him, the playmaking ability, his ability to make throws in tight situations that he showed in spring practice, and just his ability to overall impact the rest of the offense and give the offense a dynamic look, a more dynamic look than anybody else in the quarterback room.
Right.
Yeah, that was our anticipation that eventually he would be named the starting quarterback. And I've always bookmarked, like I said, I was the one that leaned towards, I'm not too sure about Tyler Buchner.
Show me. You're in more show me mode.
Yeah, you on the other side. You saw it from the beginning. You believed in him from the beginning. And then the Virginia Tech game, for me, is really all I needed to see. Because we would get him like in spurts. Like, here's a series. There's a series. We saw a nice chunk from second quarter in the first quarter all the way into the beginning of the fourth quarter. And despite his successes on 3 touchdown drives and his failures on the pick 6 and another interception in the fourth quarter before he twisted his ankle, you saw why. You get the news today, and then you saw why Tommy Reed said what he said at his press conference, and Marcus Freeman as well. It was like you saw both sides, and they saw further development from him. And we knew it was coming.
Sure. It wasn't close, Sean.
Yeah, I mean, we knew it was coming.
You and we both have sources inside the program. Like, it wasn't close.
Disrespectful. Yeah,
but it's not disrespectful. And this is the thing: is like from everything we've heard, Drew Pine has completely bounced back from his rough spring. And Drew Pine is a guy that, from what I'm told, the Notre Dame coaching staff flat out has faith in. This isn't about Drew Pine. This isn't about Drew Pine can't play. This isn't about Drew Pine's not a Notre Dame quarterback. Any of those things. From everything we've been told, Drew's had a good spring or good fall.
Yeah.
Like I said, mentally bounced back, physically bounced back, did everything he needed to do to put himself in position to contend for the job. This has always been about, is Tyler going to be the best version of himself or close to it? And from what we've told through the first week of fall camp, we're now like, a week and a day in. They started Friday, August 5th. We're now a week and a day in. It just hasn't been close. And it wasn't close during the spring. And it wasn't really close this summer. And it wasn't really close in fall camp. And from everything we've been told, it's about Tyler. I've had 2 different people that don't know each other both tell me without me asking how they saw Tyler, right? So I have one guy that I know that was at practice and said, but it looked great. Had another guy that I know that has not always been a pro Tyler guy, Sean. He was like you. He was like, I need to see it. You know, he's someone who I think is maybe a little skeptical of the dual threat nature of quarterback play. You know, he wants someone that can throw the ball. He was telling me like, you know, hey, look, man, this kid's had like the best practices of his career. He is rolling. He has earned the respect of his teammates. And I think that's partly why Drew has handled this well from what we were told, is because I think Drew's a smart kid. He knows. He sees it.
Yeah.
He sees what Tyler's bringing to the offense, but he also knows he's going to be ready. And I think that's the thing is I've had people asking me, other people are reporting this. I don't know what other people are reporting. I don't care. What I'm telling you is what Sean saw in the first practice and what Vince saw and what Sean Steyer saw and what every single intel piece I've been given is it hasn't been close. And that's a good thing. Right. And that's the thing is, Sean, is one of the questions we had was, look, somebody's going to win the starting job, but did they win it or did they earn it? That's the difference, because somebody's got to start. So somebody's going to win. Right. It could be by default. Right. If the worst 2 teams in college football play, somebody's got to win. Right. I mean, you know, doesn't mean that they necessarily, you know, did look good doing it. The key thing here is Tyler earned it. Like Tyler went out and dominated the position. And that's the important takeaway. And I'm also happy with the fact that they decided to get it over with as far as announcing it, not play like the stupid head games. It tells me that right now Marcus Freeman is not worried about playing the mind games with Ohio State and all this other. Hey, look, we gotta do what's best for our team.
Yeah.
And and I think it's right. Like I just don't think that stuff has much of an impact in a situation like this. So like the team needs to know, Tyler needs to know, Drew needs to know. That way the kids aren't getting asked about it every time there's a press conference, because the longer this would have dragged on, the more it would have been asked of the players and the coaches. And look, here's the starter. Let's roll. Right. And then now Tyler, you're the guy. We need you to now continue to do what you're doing. Drew, look, you're going to be important. Tom Reese made sure to say that. Marcus Freeman made sure to say that we're going to need Drew Pine at some point in time this year. And I mean, I'm almost ready to guarantee that they're going to need him at some point in time this year, whether it's to come off the bench, to rally if Tyler goes down or isn't playing well or something. Who knows? They're going to need him to come off the bench and do what he did last year, which is rally the troops, move the football, put the ball in the end zone, and give your team a chance to go out and win. And that's what Drew Pine can do. But Tyler is Sean, I've said this. If Drew Pine's a starting quarterback for Notre Dame this year, I still think they're a 10-2 football team. I do. And because they're not going to lose more than 2 games, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I know there's all they're 8-4 because of this, that, and the third. I mean, that's what we heard last year, right? 7-5 because they don't want this. And then like Notre Dame's the only team in the country with injuries, or only team in the country with depth issues at a position, only team in the country that lost players from their team last year. You know what I mean? Like, go look at what happened to Georgia's receiving core last year, right? And so what did Georgia do when they had all that? They played a bunch of tight ends. Oh, and by the way, then their second and third tight ends got hurt.
Right.
And they won a championship. Right? Because other positions pick it up. And we'll kind of get into that stuff. But look, the reality is this is still a really talented football team. And Drew Pine is the kind of quarterback that can go out there and say, hey, look, I'm going to lead this team to victory. We can go 10-2. But the reality has always been, if Notre Dame is going to take that jump as a program with this team, it's going to have to be with Tyler Buchner, quarterback, and Tyler Buchner playing his best. And the fact that he seized hold of this job so quickly, to me, is certainly a good sign.
And then what you said a little bit earlier is very important. The recovery of Drew Pine from his spring and to come out blazing hot in the fall helps this entire team, and it pushes Tyler Buchner. That's what you wanted from Drew Pine. Drew Pine is going to be the guy as camp goes. Now they've announced that Tyler Buchner is QB1. He's going to start to get the majority of the reps the closer they get to game time on September 3rd. Drew Pine is going to be the one working with the Tobias Merriweather, after practice, taking time with him. He's going to be the one working with the younger guys in the wide receiver room, throwing extra balls to them while Tyler Buchner is doing other things. This is going to be a collective effort. Because of the way Tyler Buchner plays the game, which is hard, maybe he finds a way to tone it down. I don't think he does. I just think that's the way he's wired. At some point, Drew Pine is going to take important snaps in this season. We don't know what game it is. More than likely, he's going to end up starting a full game at some point in this season. If it's a hamstring tweak and they're facing a lesser team, and they just decide, you know what, we're going to rest Tyler this week. We have the bye week coming up next week. Rest him. We can win this game with Drew. You just don't know how the season plays out, but they know that they have someone behind Tyler Buchner that they can confidently go into a college football game with and feel like they can get a victory. Do you know how great of a feeling that has to be as a staff, as an offensive staff, and as a head coach, to have 2 guys in your quarterback room that you feel like, we can go win a game every week with either one of these guys? That's a great feeling. I'm going to stop short of they're the best duo in college football because they really haven't started a game. Either one has started a full game.
Right.
But I would be comfortable saying they're one of the top 10 in the country as far as duos in the quarterback room.
Right.
I feel very confident in saying that. So,
with
all of the mystery, I'm so glad. And this goes back to Marcus Freeman and what he said in his initial press conference on the 5th. Someone asked him about his decision. He said, no, I'm not waiting to choose a quarterback. When I'm ready to choose it and make that decision public, I'm going to do it.
Right.
And I guess Friday.
Stayed true to his word.
And here we are on Saturday.
Right.
August the 13th, voila.
Sean, to your point, Notre Dame has had since 2010. Actually, if you go back to 2009, from 2009 to 2020 to 2021, that's a span of 13 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
In 8 of those 13 seasons, Notre Dame has had at least 2 quarterbacks start a game. Sometimes because, a couple times it's been because of poor performance, but more often than not, it's been because of injury. And even in 2018, when the performance dictated a change of quarterback, then that guy that stepped in, Ian Book, got hurt, and Brandon Wimbush had to step into the starting lineup for Florida State.
Yeah.
We saw it in 2010 with both Dane Chris started. Tom Maurice had to start late in the year because of injuries to Dane Chris. Saw it in 2011 because of poor performance.
Yeah.
We saw it in 2012 because of injury when Everett got hurt against Stanford, and then Tommy had to start against BYU.
Yeah.
We saw it in 2014 with poor performance was the lead thing that led to that. We saw it in 2015. It was injury. We saw it in 2017 because of injury. Brandon got hurt, and Ian had to start the North Carolina game. We saw it in 2018. So, and we were close to seeing it last year. Honestly, because of performance. And so, like you said, the second quarterback's probably going to be needed at some point in time. And I think one thing you could do with Tyler, and we'll get into this as we get closer to the season, but that's where the coaching staff is going to have to control him. You can't ask him to, hey, man, change the way you play. They're going to have to change the way he plays with the way that they call a game.
Yeah.
So like against Ohio State, everything's on the table. Against Clemson, everything's on the table. USC, everything's on the table. Marshall, I'm not calling a lot of designed runs in that game.
No.
It's just, but that's what you need to do as a football coach. So,
Tyler
Buchner, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Sean.
In your opinion, how close, because I don't know if you talked about this on any of your previous shows last year, how close was that decision if he doesn't twist his ankle?
Oh, it was a done deal, I was told. I was told it was a done deal. Yeah, I was told that if Tyler doesn't get hurt against Virginia Tech, they were ready to hand the keys over. Because basically, and it wasn't necessarily about Jack Cohn.
Right.
It was up to that point in time, because remember, that was before the offensive line started playing better-ish,
Right.
But even that game against Virginia Tech, the offensive line just couldn't protect him. And the way they looked at it is Tyler and his legs are the only thing that can survive behind this line. And because at the time, they were losing to Virginia Tech 10-0 when Tyler went in the lineup.
Right.
Jack was getting harassed again, couldn't get time to throw, and guys just weren't making plays for him. Tyler comes in, scores 14 points. They go up, and then they fell behind again. It was 29-21. It didn't matter if they won or lost that game. They were going to roll with Tyler. I was told that they were going to roll with Tyler. The only reason Jack kept his job is not because Tyler got hurt per se, but then Jack comes back in and, leads him down that victory, and you're like, okay. And then Jack got another start, and then, of course, the offense started playing better because the offensive line started playing better because they started playing worse competition.
Right.
And so they were very close. And I believe that if Tyler Buchner doesn't sprain his ankle, I think that decision would have been made, because they would have been out of the playoff hunt at that point in time. And it was like, okay, it's time to start working to next year. So it was about losing that game. If they lost that game with Tyler in, they would have made the move. If Tyler would have led them back to a victory, they still would have made the move, because he showed he's capable of even the victory. Because remember, he was spotted down 10 when he came into the game.
Yeah.
And so I think that and then he made a lot of plays. He made mistakes. He made rookie mistakes, but he also made a ton of plays. And they were ready to kind of hand the keys over until Jack came in. And I think when the way Jack played at the end, I felt like they just kind of thought like it was like, no, he earned the right to be the starter. He led us back. We're still in the playoff hunt. He's going to continue to be our guy. Yeah. There was a thought, I think, from what I'm told, there was a thought and a discussion at that time, like if this is kind of where it's going to go. So, yeah.